Did you know that Yahusha is behind all the calamities and pressure and consequences and the horror that has been your life? Or have you been blaming unclean spirits, demons? The devil made me do it. What's wrong with the world? It's all the devil's fault. No. Yahusha's been in there working, getting your attention for many, many years, probably your whole life, trying to bring you to a place. Because this whole world is under the curses, yeah? It's also under the curse, the big curse as well. That's what we're going to look at today. Curses. We're coming into Deuteronomy 28. Let's have a look. The curses are put on us by Yahusha. Yeah? You got two choices, blessings or curses. How do you tap into the blessings? Yeah? That's what we're going to talk about today. And what is the real nature of the curses? Because Moses is coming to the part now where he's pretty much laid out everything for them, and he says, if you don't do it, there's curses. So let's go into this. Before we actually go into the text from Deuteronomy, I want to just briefly speak about curses versus the curse. Because I didn't know it like this. There's just curses, which are a consequence of disobedience, and there's the curse of the law, or instruction, or Torah, however you want to say it. So we're now going to encounter those passages that the Israelites undoubtedly saw as the most serious threats against them, should they ever disobey Yahusha and the terms of the blood covenant. These threats from Yahusha are generally labelled as the curses. This part here was in I forget which commentary, but let's have a look here. Just the fact that it says the word threats. I left that in there. I thought, I'm going to keep that. Have you ever considered that Yahusha makes threats? If you do this, then I'll do this. Wonderful. But if you do that, watch out. Watch out. Well, that's a threat, isn't it? Yeah. These threats from Yahusha are generally labelled as the curses. Of course, as is the nature of Yahusha's justice system, in addition to the curses for those in disobedience and who turn away from Yahusha, there are the blessings. You got the blessings and the curses, curses and the blessings. Blessings for those who stay near to Yahusha and demonstrate their trust and love for him through their obedient behaviour. Now, since curses are at the centre here, let's not confuse the list of curses, meaning the prescribed punishments for the various acts of disobeying Yahusha. Remember last episode we had curses, list of curses and blessings? Let's not confuse the list of curses with the phrase, the curse of the law, which we've been dealing with ever since Leviticus. Let's not confuse the curses, which I've done in navy blue. Let's not confuse the curses with the curse of the law, yeah? In a deep red burgundy there. So, which Paul uses in Galatians 3. This confusion has many believers today walking around blissfully expecting that they have nothing. A, they have nothing to fear from Yahusha, no matter what they do. And that's because B, nothing we can ever do would cause him to flog us or discipline us for our actions. In other words, Yahusha would never punish a believer for their bad behaviour. Poppycock, what rubbish. And that's from a misunderstanding and a confusion of these two things here. Two completely different things. Because this confusion has led people to just think they can behave however they want. My Elohim, my wonderful Yahusha, he's all love. Makes me feel one. He would never flog me or chastise me. Oh, rubbish. Hopefully you've been watching these videos for the last 18 months. Hopefully if you've been watching these videos the last 18 months, you remember that the curse of the law was a judicial term meaning execution in Yahusha's sacrificial system. If you had committed an intentional high-handed crime, idolatry, adultery, murder, etc., there was no offering. But technically it wasn't in the sacrificial system because there was no offering. It's in his legal system. There was no offering to atone for your crime, and you were handed over to that department called the curse of the law. In other words, the curse. It was called the curse. Not just curses, the curse. The best way for us to see the distinction between curses for disobedience and the curse of the law, eternal death penalty, is to examine a few scripture verses that employs the term the curse in a variety of contexts. So let's have a look at a couple of these scriptures. In Isaiah 24 it says, "The land is now unclean because the people living in it have disobeyed my teachings, changed the divine laws, and broken my blood covenant of deliverance. And that's why the curse is devouring the land, and all the people are withering away and perishing, punished for their wicked behaviour." So this isn't just a consequential curses, specific curse for specific behaviours, is it? Punishments, consequences. No, this is the curse. This is wiping you out, death, possibly eternal death too. So, there's the curse right there in Isaiah. Why? For their wicked behaviour. They're perishing and being punished. Why does the text say that the curse, singular, is devouring the land, instead of Yahusha simply enacting a large number of curses, plural, or punishments that come from breaking the several divine laws that Yisrael is accused of breaking? Is it that Yahusha is but invoking just one particular curse out of a long list of possible curses? No. Let's see why. So he's not just picking out one curse from a list of them for that situation. No, there's the curse. And it's the same, the curse, as the death penalty, the curse. Yeah? Let's go to Jeremiah 42. Yahuwah, Elohim of Yisrael, says this: "In the same way that my anger and wrath is falling on the people of Jerusalem, so my wrath will be poured out on you when you enter Egypt, and you will become a curse." The curse, a curse, you'll become the curse. An object of grotesque horror and nightmare, and you'll never see this place ever again. In place of translating the Hebrew word kilala, in place of translating the Hebrew word kilala, in Jeremiah 42 above, as curses, instead of doing it as curses, which is its common meaning, many versions say the object of condemnation. The object of condemnation. What does condemnation mean? It means death penalty, really. And it's what the curse meant. The curse means condemnation, death penalty, yeah? This indicates that for the one who has come under the curse as a punishment of rebellion against Yahusha, he is the one who is the object of Yahusha's punishment. In other words, you dared me. So, Proverbs 3 says, Yahuwah's curse is in the wicked person's home. Yahuwah's curse is in the wicked person. How would you like to have his curse in your home? His curse is in the wicked person's home, but he blesses the home of the obedient. Proverbs 3. So once again, we see that Yahuwah's curse is not quite the same thing as the various curses, punishments one receives for breaking some of his divine laws and commands. Rather, the term Yahuwah's curse means the death penalty. If a Hebrew steals something, then he is placed under one of the appropriate specified curses, punishments, listed in the divine laws. We've just been through them. So if he has injured a brother and has broken his relationship with Yahusha, the divine law says he must make compensation to the rightful owner, plus add a little more as a penalty, plus make a sacrifice of atonement to Yahusha at the tabernacle altar. Note that this thief was not condemned under the curse, because in the scripture, just like in our society, if a person is condemned, it generally means that a person is facing the death penalty. And that death penalty can mean physical death, or it can mean spiritual death, or it can mean both. So you steal, you lie, you hurt someone, do something wrong, there is a sacrifice, there's a consequence, you pay money sometimes to compensate, this, that. It might be considered a punishment or a curse, but it's not the curse of the death penalty. The curse, So I hope the different colours make it a bit easier to grasp this. Now look, because we're going somewhere with this. Now look at Deuteronomy 30, that starts to put an even sharper point, not only on the meaning of the term the curse, but also on the term the blessing. Because just as a list of curses is not the same thing as the curse, a list of blessings is not the same thing as the blessing. Deuteronomy 30 says, "Look, I'm presenting you today with two choices, life and goodness, or death and evil. And I'm ordering you today to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to follow his ways and to obey his words and divine laws. For if you do, you will live comfortably, grow in numbers, and Yahuwah your Elohim will bless you in the land you are entering. But if your heart turns away, if you refuse to listen, if you are drawn away to bow down before other deities and serve them, I'm announcing to you today that you'll definitely be destroyed, and you won't live long at all in the land you're crossing the Jordan to enter and possess." I'm announcing to you today that you'll be definitely destroyed. Does that sound like a minor consequence or a punishment? No, that sounds like the curse. That sounds like death. You're destroyed. And destroyed doesn't just sound like a wipe you off the physical plane. It sounds like outside the camp, unclean, cut off, like physical and spiritual existence. Severed, gone, you cease to exist. I think it says that somewhere here. This passage essentially defines what Yahusha means by the term the blessing and the curse of the divine laws. The blessing of the law is life and good, and the curse of the law is death and evil. Life and good versus death and evil. It was a common expression among Hebrews to say that the Torah is life, meaning that to follow Yahusha's instructions brings the life that Yahusha wishes to give all who trust in him. And alternatively, to not follow him brings death, the opposite of life, because that means the disobedient person doesn't trust him. So when Yahusha died on the stake, this is where it gets interesting between the differences. So when Yahusha died on the stake, he didn't take away the punishments, the curses, the list of curses for disobedience. He didn't take away the physical consequences and punishments. He didn't take away the curses from his followers. He simply took away the curse of the law, which is the condemnation of the eternal death, the death penalty. He took that away. Yahusha certainly didn't abolish physical death for us, did he? At least in the present world, because that's self-evident. People still die of old age, of all sorts of reasons. As we see in the scriptures, the vast majority of the crimes committed against Yahusha had some sort of punishment associated with each of them. And the punishment associated with them is the curses. But only a handful of those crimes ever invoked the death penalty, the curse of the law. I know we've kind of dealt with this before, but it was just really interesting to see the difference between curses in general, and lists of curses, and the curse of the law. And so it is with modern day followers of Yahusha. So what have we just discovered? That Yahusha did not get rid of day-to-day consequences for our disobedience, but he did get rid of the curse, the death penalty, the condemnation, the eternal death, of our eternal existence being severed. He got rid of that. And so it is with modern day followers of Yahusha. Generally speaking, we can and we will commit crimes against Yahusha, and we will experience Yahusha's hand of floggings, chastisements, discipline, and rebuke in the form of certain divine punishments, calamities, sicknesses, consequences, and feelings upon us. Did you know that sicknesses and feelings you might have are divine consequences? Sicknesses. Have you ever felt pain in your body and thought, what's Yahusha trying to say to me? Or is it just a consequence? Let me run and get a Panadol. Do you think like this? Sometimes it is just it's time for coffee or something like that. I don't know. Sometimes it is just something simple. But do you consider it? That maybe Yahusha's doing something? Getting your attention about something through pain? Interesting. You should. So the consequences can often be, what are we talking about? So we can and will do crimes against Yahusha, and we'll get flogged, chastised, disciplined, rebuked in all sorts of forms of calamities, sicknesses, consequences, and feelings upon us. These are the curses. There's the general list of curses, behavioural. We break them, we get some kind of smack, flog, consequence. However, what we are spared from is the eternal separation from Yahusha as a result of those crimes. So we're spared from the eternal separation and death from Yahusha as a result of those crimes, which is what all mankind deserves, death and eternal separation. Yahusha's bride is spared from the eternal death penalty, spiritual condemnation, permanent separation from Yahusha, the curse of the law. Yahusha's bride is spared from that. Notice I'm saying it's Yahusha's bride that is spared from that, because up here, I said, somewhere I said here that Yahusha has lifted the consequence of eternal death only for his bride. Yeah? Not for everybody. Yahusha's bride is spared from the eternal death penalty, which is the curse of the law. That is, until Yahusha returns and finds it. So she's spared of it until Yahusha returns and finds that she's not ready. Then it'll be a different story. Yahusha's bride is spared of the eternal death and separation from Yahusha. But if he arrives back on this planet and sees that she's not ready, the wise will go into the marriage and the foolish will not. Then it will be a totally different story. And the second complete and total death awaits everyone else at the great white throne judgment after the millennial rest. So we've got a little bit of time, not much, because when Yahusha comes back, it's done. Will you be ready? You got the oil in your lamps? The correct, obedient behavior? So, the choice being offered here in Deuteronomy to the 12 tribes of Israel by means of the blood covenant, and the very similar choice that is being offered by the renewed covenant in Yahusha, is between the blessing or the curse. So just as Israel is being offered this choice, life or death, we today are being offered the same thing, blessing or curse, life or death. Or as the scripture has shown us, between the blessing of life and the curse of death. So, does that make sense now? Don't get confused with latter scriptures that say he became the curse for us, the curse of the law, did away with the curse of the law, all that sort of thing. People take that out of context, because of course it's all religious mindset, not Ruach inspired. Yahusha's not there showing them the truth in it, so they think, oh, the law's been done away with, the instructions have been abolished, Yahusha nailed them to the stake. No, not at all. He nailed death. Actually, he nailed the list of crimes to the stake, which brought forth the death penalty. And most of those crimes were intentional, high-handed crimes that brought the death penalty, which could not be covered under the sacrificial system. So let's go on to what Moses has to say today in Deuteronomy 28 about the curses. Today I'm giving you the divine laws and teachings of Yahuwah your Elohim. So if you guard them in your heart and diligently obey his voice, Yahuwah will make Israel the most famous, most powerful and important nation on the earth, blessing you in every way. If is maybe the biggest word in scripture in terms of spiritual impact. The proposition is that if Israel will follow the terms of the blood covenant, then Yahusha will bestow his blessings upon Israel. It's conditional. All this unconditional love stuff. No, there's conditions. If you don't do them, you're dead meat. So let's read these blessings first. Yahuwah will make your businesses and your farms successful. You'll have many children. That was a big deal back here, because your children was your numbers, was your power, was your workforce, was your army, was your wealth. It was all in your children. How many children you had was how rich you are. And other possessions too, but mainly your children. How big your clan was. So you'll have many children. So what's he saying to them? You'll be rich and you'll be powerful. So You'll harvest large crops, and your herds of cattle and flocks of sheep and goats will produce many young. You'll have plenty of bread to eat. Yahusha will make you successful in your daily work. Yahusha will help you defeat your enemies and make them scatter in all directions. Take all this to your day today and relate it. Anyone who comes against you, I was even saying to my son this morning, if you are horrible to someone who's horrible to you, then you're just doing what's expected. That's the rules of human life, daily life. That's the rules. Because he's all into video games and stuff. So that's the rules of the game of life, mate. Being horrible to someone who's horrible to you. But if someone's cruel and horrible to you at school or wherever you are, and you choose to be nice to them and kind to them, then they just flip out, because now they're in debt to you. They owe you because you've changed the rules of the game. You've been kind to them when they've been horrible to you, so that makes you better, whether it's said or not. It's just you're better than them, so they owe you then. They're in debt to you, and they'll be furious because they don't want to pay you back kindness. And this is how you dump hot coals on their heads, yeah? So you can shift the rules of the game and get points. It's all about getting behavioural points. Pew, 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 pew. So that was one of those 2-minute conversations on the way to school. So why did that come up? There you go. Defeat your enemies. Same for us adults too. Yahusha will help you defeat your enemies, any conflicts in your day. Make them scatter. Piss off. Go away. Demons will flee if you have the right behaviour. Yahusha, your Elohim, is giving you the land, and he'll make sure you are successful in everything you do. And your harvests will be so large that your storehouses will be full. If you follow and obey Yahusha, he'll make you his own special treasured people, just as he promised. Then everyone on earth will know that you belong to him, and they'll be afraid of you. Yahusha will give you a lot of children and make sure that your animals give birth to many young. Children and animals, a form of wealth, yeah? And power. Yahusha promised your ancestors that this land would be yours, and he'll make it produce large crops for you. He'll even open the storehouses of the skies where he keeps the rain, and he'll irrigate all your land at just the right times. He'll make you successful in everything you do, and you'll have plenty of money to lend to other nations too. But you'll never need to borrow any yourself. Notice most of the time where Yahusha says you'll have plenty of money, it's always to be a help and assistance of some sort of benefit to his purpose and his plans, not to just give it to everybody, but for a reason. It's not just to lift yourself up, make yourself lavish and powerful and separate yourself and lift yourself up and no, it's always to serve him in some way, So money is not evil, it's the love and hoarding of it, So you'll have plenty of money to lend to the nations, but you'll never have to borrow any yourself. So obey the divine laws and teachings that I'm giving you today. How many times has he said that in the last 30 odd chapters? Obey the divine laws and teachings that I'm giving you today, and Yahusha, your Elohim, will make Israel a leader among the nations. Not a follower, the head, not the tail. Israel will be wealthy and powerful, not poor and weak. But you must not reject any of his divine laws and teachings or bow down and serve other deities. Now, out of all the nations, I know there's lots of nations that have been treated harshly and become slaves and also slave trading, all sorts of things. But if you look at the nation of Israel, the Jewish people, which is only one tribe, but still, do they look like this? I mean, I know people say, oh, they're the bankers and they're shifty and they're this and they're that, but still, when you think of powerful, not poor or weak, wealthy and powerful, do you think of Israel? Do you think of that sort of people? The head of the world, leading the world in their example and their wisdom and their everything. Do you think of Israel? Do you think of that sort of thing when you think about Nazi Germany and the Holocaust and all these sort of other experiences they went through as well? Do you think about this? No. They're not, the leader among the nations. They're a follower. They're not the head. They were definitely the tail back in the 1930s, weren't they? So Wealthy and powerful? Or poor and weak? Why? Was it Satan? Here's one to think about. Was the Holocaust all about Satan? Was that from Satan? Because what are all the scriptures saying? If you don't obey my instructions. Oh, but we've held on to the covenant and we've held on to the instructions and we've held on to all this stuff. Yeah, but what have you done to it? Are you behaving it? Look at all the stuff you've added to it. It's your own religion. Nothing like what Yahusha ever taught. In fact, when he came along, he was the one telling you guys off. And you wonder, look here, Israel's been scattered, stuffed a lot of you, divorcing you, you're done, into the nations. And look how they've been treated. Those who don't identify as Israelites anymore, have been infiltrated and washed into the nations, And those who still stand and say, yes, we are Israel, look how they've been treated. So Moses has just gone into all the blessings for obedience. And now he's going to talk about the curses. Yisrael, today I'm giving you the divine laws and teachings of Yahuwah your Elohim, and if you don't obey them all, he'll put many curses on you. What are these curses? Your businesses and farms will fail. You won't have enough bread to eat. You'll have very few children. Before I go on too, I want you to notice things that I've underlined here are not just, if you do this, then this will happen. Moses starts actually saying, it will happen. This is what's going to happen. Like it's prophecy. Interesting. It starts off, if you don't obey, then this will happen. But notice the things I've underlined. It's like, okay, speaking quite prophetically here. That's a bit harsh, mate. You're only just giving us the instructions and you're already telling us we're going to fail. So it's obviously prophecy, isn't it? You'll have very few sheep, you'll have very few children. Your crops will be small. Your herds of cattle and flocks of sheep won't produce many young. Yahuwah will make you fail in everything you do. Fail in everything you do. No matter what you try to accomplish, Yahuwah will confuse you. Isn't this the world today? No matter what you try to do, you'll fail, you'll be confused, and you'll feel his anger. You won't last long, and you'll end up in calamity and disaster, all because you rejected Yahuwah. Yahuwah will send terrible diseases to attack you. Plagues, sicknesses, diseases. And you will never be well again. You will suffer with burning fever and swelling and pain until you die somewhere in the land that you captured. Yahuwah will make the sky overhead seem like a bronze roof. The sky will seem like brass. The sky will seem like a bronze roof that keeps out the rain, and the ground under your feet will become as hard as iron. Your crops will be scorched by the hot east wind and ruined by mildew. He will send dust and sandstorms instead of rain, and you will be wiped out. What are all the farmers going through today? Drought and bushfires. And Yahuwah will let you be defeated by your enemies, and you will scatter in all directions. You will be a horrible sight for the other nations to see, and no one will disturb the birds and wild animals while they eat your dead bodies. Yahuwah will make you suffer with diseases that will cause oozing sores or crusty, itchy patches on your skin, or boils like the ones that are common in Egypt. And there will be no cure for you. Talking about Egypt, plagues. That reminds me of Revelation when they all start kicking in again, which is happening today. You want to have your own way? These are the consequences. You will become insane and go blind. Yahuwah will make you so confused that even in bright sunshine you will have to feel your way around. Have to feel your way around like a blind person who cannot tell day from night. For the rest of your life, people will beat you and rob you, and no one will be able to stop them. A man will be engaged to a woman, but before they can get married, she will be raped by enemy soldiers. Some of you will build houses, but never get to live in them. If you plant a vineyard, you won't be around long enough to enjoy the first harvest. Sounds like we're reading the nightly news, doesn't it? The newspaper. This is just normal to us, isn't it? Rape and pillage and destruction. Your cattle will be killed while you watch, but you won't get any of its meat. Your donkey and sheep will be stolen from you, and and no one will be around to force your enemies to give them back. No one will be around, no one will care. That's the legal system, isn't it? Fails everybody daily. No one cares. There's no one there to fight for you. Your sons and daughters will be dragged off to a foreign country while you stand there helpless. And even if you watch for them until you go blind, you will never see them again. You will work hard on your farms, but everything you harvest will be eaten by foreigners who will mistreat you and abuse you for the rest of your life. What you see will be so horrible that you will go insane. And Yahuwah will punish you from head to toe with boils that never heal. Take this in, guys. This is Yahusha saying that this is going to happen. Now, this isn't the world and mankind. This is Yahusha saying, if you disobey me, this will happen. Yahuwah will let you and your king be taken captive to a country, a king. They don't even have a king. Must be prophetic. Yahuwah will let you and your king be taken captive to a country that you and your ancestors have never even heard of. And there you will have to worship idols made of wood and stone. People of nearby countries will shudder when they see your terrible troubles, but they will still make fun of you. You will plant a lot of seed but gather a small harvest because locusts will eat your crops. You will plant vineyards and work hard at taking care of them, but you won't gather any grapes, much less get any wine. And the vines themselves will be eaten by worms. Even if your olive trees grow everywhere in your country, the olives will fall off before they are ready. And there won't be enough olive oil for even combing your hair. Even your infant sons and daughters will be taken as prisoners of war. Locusts will eat your crops and strip your trees of leaves and fruit. Foreigners in your towns will become wealthy and powerful while you become poor and powerless. You will be so short of money that you will have to borrow from those foreigners. They will be the leaders in the community and you will be the followers. Yisrael, if you don't obey the divine laws and teachings that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you, he will send these curses to chase, attack, and destroy you. Then everyone will look at you and your descendants and realize that Yahuwah has placed you under a curse. If Yahuwah makes you wealthy, but you don't rejoice, if Yahuwah makes you wealthy, but you don't joyfully serve and honor him, behave yourself, he will send enemies to attack you and make you their slaves. Then you will live in poverty with nothing to eat, drink, or wear, and your owners will work you to death. Foreigners who speak a strange language will be sent to attack you without warning, just like an eagle swooping down. They won't show any mercy, and they will have no respect for old people or pity for children. They will take your cattle, sheep, goats, grain, wine, and olive oil, and leave you to starve. All over the land that Yahuwah your Elohim gave you, the enemy army will surround your towns. You may feel safe inside your town walls, but the enemy will tear them down while you wait in horror. Finally, you will get so hungry, cop this, finally you will get so hungry that you will eat the sons and daughters that Yahuwah gave you. Because of hunger, a man who has been gentle and kind will eat his own children and refuse to share a meal with his brother or wife or with his own children. Even the hoity-toity, the glamorous, the elegant, I'm a foodie. I'm an expert in food. Even those people will be down there with blood on their face, gnawing on the bones of their own children, and they won't even share any of it with their families. That's how base, depraved it will get, you know. A woman may grow up in such luxury that she never had to put a foot on the ground. But times will be so hard that she will secretly eat both her newborn baby and the afterbirth and the placenta without sharing any with her husband or her other children. That's how starving and bad it will be. Look at the world today. You must obey everything in the book of Yahuwah's divine laws, because if you don't respect Yahuwah, he'll punish you and your descendants with incurable diseases. Incurable diseases. Stacks of those around today too, like those you were so afraid of in Egypt. Remember, If Yahuwah decides to destroy your nation, he can use any disease or disaster. If he decides to destroy your nation for your disobedience, he can use any disaster or disease. Not just the ones written in the book of his divine laws. Anything. Is this whole COVID thing from Satan or Yahusha? There are many of you now. There are as many of you now as the stars in the sky. But if you disobey Yahuwah your Elohim, only a few of you will be left. Yahuwah is happy to make you successful and to help your nation grow while you conquer the land. But if you disobey him, he'll be just as happy to pull you up by the roots. Those of you that survive will be scattered to every nation on earth, and you will have to bow down and serve stone and wood idols that never helped you or your ancestors. You will be restless, always longing for home. That's Jews today, isn't it? Israel, always going on about their woes and things that have happened to them in the past. But look, Yahusha said it was going to happen. You will be restless, always longing for home, but never able to return. You will live in constant fear of death. Each morning you will wake up to such terrible sights that you will say, I wish it were night. But at night you will be so terrified you'll say, I wish it were day. I told you never to go back to Egypt, but now Yahuwah himself will load you on ships and send you right back to slavery. Then you will even try to sell yourselves as slaves, but no one will be interested. It's interesting to look at all the underlined bits. What about that, guys? What about the text? Well, how heavy, and it's not really heavy, it's motivational, isn't it? Look at what's going to happen, and it's all happening. Can you believe in the validity of Yahusha's word? He said it's going to happen. And no matter what mankind says, no matter what religion says, no matter what a certain nation says about their heritage or what they've done and what they should be owed, what does Yahusha say? Clean, unclean, right, wrong, obedient, disobedient. If you're disobedient, that's what's going to happen. It's interesting to look at the underlined bits that speak of Israel's future scattering and slavery in the nations, The texts often shift from being a possibility, if you do this, to being flat out assurance and future prophecy. Israel will be removed from the land of promise because they will rebel against Yahusha and will bring down the curses upon themselves. They will. Moses said it. They will. He knows them only too well. So it was prophecy, of course, but he even knew himself. Why do you think he's going to all this trouble before he dies? He knows what they're like. Notice also that 300 years before Israel even had any thoughts of installing a king to rule over them, Yahusha says they will drive the Israelites. He will drive the Israelites and their king to a nation that was unknown to their fathers, a nation that essentially did not even exist in the days of the patriarchs. Definitely prophetic. It's all prophesied right here, as well as what we see with the freaked out, fragile mental state of mankind today due to their blatant disobedience. So the theme of this video today is curses. So what does curse mean in Hebrew? The idea of curses in Hebrew is a sense of enduring a calamity. And it also means confusion, referring to the panic and chaos typically caused by war and intense social upheaval. Bringing this Hebrew word into today, because we can look at all that stuff, hope we don't, but many people can look at that and oh, that was them, that's what happened to them, they were booted out of the land, they were under the curses, and we're not like that, no. Well, now let's look at the word curse. Calamity, confusion, panic, chaos, typically caused by war and intense social upheaval. Sounds like today. Another meaning is cumbrance, like a heavy burden, obstacle, or intense hindrance, something itching away at you, niggling at you. Hindrance, hindering your way, standing in your path. It carries with it the idea of frustration and an inability to advance, move ahead, or make a progress in life. You can't get ahead. The system is against you. Everyone's against you. You're just treading water. trying to walk in quicksand, working and slaving away every day but not getting anywhere. That's part of the curses, the curses on you, disobedience. That's life today. And what brings about these conditions is that Yisrael has committed great evil by disobeying Yahusha. Have you ever been in a situation or in a place where you sensed incredible evil? The kind of sensation that caused the hair on the back of your neck to stand up on end? Yet you couldn't see anything or put your finger on what it was. Have you ever been in a place where you felt that Yahusha's light did not penetrate or illuminate, and instead there was only darkness and death, and all you wanted to do was run away from it? That is the mental blindness that is being described here, and the darkness, an absence of light. But Yahusha says that running away won't work, because they, curses, will follow you wherever you go. This was the kind of darkness that fell on Egypt. It wasn't just a physical darkness, it was also a spiritual darkness, a heaviness, a deep, dark depression, an absence of his light, love, sanity, clarity. So, just as when Yahusha died, it went dark as well. So, let's kick this home about the curse. Just as Yahusha rejoices to bless us for our obedience, he also rejoices to destroy us and lay waste for our idolatry and disobedience. I'm not going to go to it, but it said that higher up in what we just read. Just as he rejoices to bless us, he also rejoices to destroy us and lay us waste for our idolatry and disobedience. Did you know Yahusha was like this? Because that's the purpose of going through these scriptures, isn't it? Not just to decide and work out how we are supposed to behave, but to understand him, to get to know who he is and how he feels about things. Did you know Yahusha was like this? Rejoices in blessing and rejoices in destruction too. Did you know he still feels the same way about those who are disobedient to his instructions today? If we look around us, isn't this the chaos we see every day? Everyone's behaviour is their worship. And the consequences for wickedness and evil are the sicknesses, calamities, and mental insanity, curses within society, as Yahusha promised. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by those sick and mental people, because it's all for a reason. Listen to their words. Watch them and listen to them. Look at their behaviour. And you'll see the curses in action through what they say, what they're going through, the way they behave. And you'll understand why they're in such calamity and chaos and curses. We all know the blessings of being in blood covenant, and we should all know the curses for disobedience too. Most people today are falling like flies, being destroyed, because they refuse to acknowledge that Yahusha is punishing them with sicknesses, diseases, plagues, and insanity because of their personal behaviour. Most people today are in the mixture mindset. In other words, the Hebrew scriptures are mixed with the Masoretic traditions and philosophies of sun worship, and this mixture is in a book called the Bible. And this mindset has infiltrated the whole of societies around the globe, and the book of Revelation calls it drunkenness. The whole world is drunk on the cup of the wine of the doctrines, the false teachings, the idolatry. These people are trapped, and their only deliverance from this mindset is the name of Yahusha Messiah. In spite of this mixture insanity though, the blood covenant has rolled on through the ages, and all men are called to repent and enter for their own deliverance and protection. Otherwise they are outside the blessings of correct behaviour. Now recall the specific curses above and compare with today. Do you believe that Yahusha is really behind the insanity we see around the globe? If Yahusha came to renew the blood covenant, why would the blessings and curses be unnecessary for today? Men say a lot of things that are not true. That's why I went into further up what the blood covenant was about, the conditions different people had conditions, others didn't. The more conditions as time goes on for intimacy purposes. But, we also looked, at the difference between curses and the curse, the death penalty, which is a legislation term. So if Yahusha came and renewed the blood covenant, why would he do away with the blessings and curses? Men say a lot of things that are not true. And if you see these things, these curses happening to people all around you, then it's easy to understand. Face it. Face what you see. It's because of their personal behaviour outside the blood covenant that brings torment, disease, and destruction upon the disobedient. So the whole purpose of these scriptures and these studies is to make everything easy. I mean, you don't have to get into the intrigue and what's really going on and all that, but you can tell by a person's demeanour, behaviour, sicknesses, everything, that they're in a curse situation because of their... And what's the personal behaviour? It's theirs, not anyone else's, no one else's fault. Their personal behaviour is why they are in the state they're in. Yeah? Nothing to do with you. You've got your own walk to do with your own either blessings or curses. So you need to face this. Don't take it onto yourself. Their insanity is because of their personal behaviour. Of course, Yahusha leaves the choice of our behaviour up to us, stating there's no excuse for ignorance. And today we have the full knowledge of the truth, all handy and convenient on the computer. Yahusha tells us how to serve him and what is acceptable. He hates spiritual adultery, which is called idolatry. The Hebrews were given this information to pass on to the nations with the consequences of blessings and curses, but they fell into spiritual adultery. They didn't fall, they chose it. They chose spiritual adultery, the worship of sexuality in all its many forms. Sexuality that's not within the marriage bed is idolatry. Yeah? Curses are not dirty words, as religion says. Oh, stop cursing, stop cursing. No. You're blaspheming, you name your cuss words, those cuss words. That's not what a curse is. Curses are not dirty words, as religion teaches, religion void of life teaches, but dreadful sufferings for disobedient behaviour. Curses are dreadful sufferings for disobedient behaviour. Put that into your computer. Curses are dreadful sufferings for disobedient behaviour. Find someone in your day who is not suffering something. The whole world is suffering. And now we know why. What do we just go through with what Moses is saying? What's going on, guys? So that was fascinating to me today. This article at the end here was one on our behaviour site from a few years ago, but it all tied in with the curses, so I thought I would use it to push the point home. The curse is real. The curses and the blessings are relevant for today. Which one do you want? Behold, I put the path in front of you. The choice is yours. Death, curses, life, blessings. Choose life.